Hey there, Stampers. My name is Sherry Roth. I'm a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator from Alberta, Canada, and I'm excited to be here to share 2 cards with you today created using the Encircled in Nature bundle from the Stampin' Up! Online exclusives. So you won't find this bundle in any of their publications, but you can find it in their online store while it's available. So we're going to use this to create 2 very different cards today. So I'm going to share a peek of them. So we're going to do this one and then this one. So you can see that they are completely different. You can do so much with one stamp set to create different looks. So we're going to have fun with this one today. All right. So I will have a corresponding blog post that goes with this video. It will be linked in the description, as will all of the supplies that I've used. They will be linked as well. So I'm not going to go through measurements as we go through here today because you will be able to access all those measurements from the blog post. Okay, so let me explain what I've got here. Now I've chosen to combine this, this bundle, Encircled in Nature, with the Earthen Elegance DSP. So it is a paper pack that is actually retiring. It's only available while supplies last. It is, I believe, discounted slightly while supplies last, or until the end of April 2024. Okay, so I want to point that out. But there's lots of other papers that you can combine with it. So I've got 3 pieces here. One of them's going to be one of them's going to be for my card front, one of them's going to be for the inside, and then one is going to be for the envelope flap. And I've gone ahead and I've done a couple things. So I have taken 2 of the dies and I've die cut them twice from some black cardstock. So let me show you which dies I've used. So I've used this one here and this one here. Okay, so I've cut those out, each of those out twice. I've got a baker's twine bow there. And we are going to take this piece and we're going to do a bunch of things to it. Okay, so first of all, we're going to do some ink blending. So I'm going to use, I've got Misty Moonlight cardstock. I'm going to use some Misty Moonlight ink. And we're just going to kind of darken it a little bit. Give it almost like a little bit of an ombre look. So I've inked it up. I always touch it down on a scrap piece of paper first, and with a light hand, I go in a circular motion, starting off of the cardstock and working my way down. And then re-inking and just continuing that process. Okay, so once you're happy with it, so you can kind of see that it's a little bit darker at the top and it gradually gets lighter as we go down. So we've got that, and then we're going to bring out the tree. So this is from the stamp set, the individual tree, and we're going to stamp it a few times. So we'll do it like that. And then I'm also going to do it on the inside of my card. I always like to decorate the inside of my cards while I've got my stamps out. Okay. All right. Next up, we are going to take a block. So I have this thin little block. I think this is from one of our kits, and I like to use it for this purpose. So I use it to add ink to so that I can splatter. So I've got some white craft ink, and I'm just going to put a dot on there. And then I'm going to bring in my water painter and squeeze a drop of water on here just to make it a little bit more runny. And then I'll mix that up. And then I take my bone folder and I tap. And you get this beautiful, it could be snowy, could be stars, whatever you want it to be. So I'm just going to take that. I'm going to run this, clean this off just on my scrap paper, just so I don't have excess ink on there. And then I'll grab a tissue and just wipe this off. I don't want to leave that on there because I don't want it to dry on there. It's just easier to get off if it's wet. All right. And then I'm going to take some white ink, and this image here that has the moon and some stars, just ink it up, and I'm going to stamp it down right about there. Okay. And then I'm going to set it aside to dry because our white is crafting. It's not a water-based ink, so it takes a little, it's a pigment ink, so it takes a little bit longer to dry. And some of those splatters are a little bit thicker. So we're just going to set it aside to dry. And we're going to bring in a scrap piece of Misty Moonlight, and we're going to emboss it. So I've got my embossing buddy here. Just going to rub that on there. That will get rid of any oils from my fingers or any static that is on there. And I'm going to bring in some Versamark, and I've got the Here For You stamp or greeting. So all of the stamps that I'm using are from the Encircled with Nature stamp set. And we're just going to stamp that on here. And I'll set that aside. And I'm going to bring in my white embossing powder. Tap off the excess so it looks kind of powdery, and then I'm going to heat it up with my heat tool. So let's set that aside. I'm going to bring in my heat tool and heat this up until it goes shiny. Okay, so can you see the difference? It went a little bit more crisper, like more white, really popped off the page, and now it's shiny. So now it's not powdery. That powder is set. Okay, and we can trim this a little bit. So I'm just going to trim this right about here. And then I'm going to angle cut this. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and start assembling here. Okay, so I have this scrap. I think I will put it on the inside. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. I always try to use as many of my scraps as I can when I sit down to craft, so that I don't have a lot of scraps left over. And because this paper is retiring, and I don't tend to use a lot of retired product, I definitely want to use up as much of it as I can before it's gone. So the Earth and Elegance DSP is actually a great paper to combine with this bundle because they both have that earthy feel. Okay, and then I've got my larger piece. Stick that on there. Like that. And then we can do our envelope flap. Okay, and then we're going to bring this piece in. It might not be fully dry yet. You could give it a zap with your heat tool, but I'm just going to be careful where I put my fingers. So you're just going to see a little bit of that pattern paper peeking out from behind. And I'm going to pop these excess pieces out here. So this Encircled with Nature bundle is actually the bundle that we're using in this month's tutorial club. So every month, members of the tutorial club get 4 exclusive projects featuring a different either stamp set or bundle or product. Sometimes it's fun folds, sometimes it's techniques. It varies from month to month. So this month happens to be this bundle. So I will link to where you can find more information on that. And it's great because there is an option. It doesn't matter where you live, you can participate in the tutorial club, but there is an option to upgrade and receive the pre-cut or the cut card kits for anyone who lives in Canada. So I will link to where you can find all of that information. The cards this month are beautiful. Okay, so now I want to pop this one up. So I'm going to trim some really narrow pieces around the edges, and I'm going to use my paper piercing tool here to separate them and stick them on these branches. And if I had black dimensionals would be perfect for this, but I don't have any on hand right now. Because they're darker, you wouldn't see that pop of white underneath if they happen to stick out just a little bit from underneath. Let's see, we'll trim this one. Just add a little piece right there. Okay, now we'll peel off the backing. And then this is going to get popped up right here. Just like that. This is going to get curled a little bit. So I'm going to take my bone folder and curl it. I'm going to use a dimensional underneath here. And this is going to slide right under here like this. Oh, you know what? We forgot these little trees. Let's pop these on here. Okay, so those will go on there like that. And then these ones kind of in behind, so it looks like they're a little further away. Actually, we're gonna lift this guy up for a minute. I'll put this one on first, and then this one on. All right, and then we'll finish it off with our baker's twine bow. That's gonna go right on the corner of our greeting right here. And there we go. We've got a beautiful kind of nighttime. This would make a great sympathy card. And there's the inside. All right, so that is card number 1. And then card number 2, we're gonna do something completely different. Okay, let me just slide some of this stuff out of the way. Okay, so now we're gonna do an emboss resist technique for this next card. So I've got lots of white. I love cards with lots and lots of white. So we're gonna take this piece here. So this is a smaller piece of white. Again, you can check the blog post for all the measurements. And we are gonna stamp all over this. But before we do that, we are gonna run over our embossing buddy, just to remove any fingerprints or oils from our fingers, any static. And then we're gonna take the floral image, which I actually don't think I have it out on a block. Let's see. No, I don't. Okay, so we are going to use this floral image for this one. So it's kind of rounded, so you can put it kind of around the edges of your wreath, but we're not going to use it that way. Grab a block. Okay, and we are going to stamp all over our background. Now, because this is Versamark and it's kind of like a watermark ink, it's really hard to see on white. So we'll might have to lift up the paper here and there to make sure that I'm not stamping over top of an image. So I'm basically creating my own patterned paper. And you can see that I'm rotating the stamp around so that all of my flowers are not going in the same direction. Okay, so now I'm going to lift it up. Okay, we can do it this way. I'm also trying not to get my fingers on the paper too much. I'll do one there. And then, let's see, probably a couple more. Oh man, this is really hard to see. Okay, I think we're okay. Like this. And then we'll do one more right in the corner here. We can always add more if I feel like we need more afterwards. I'm going to bring back my white embossing powder again. And I'm going to dump it all over. Tap off the excess. Oh, see, we missed a big spot in the middle. That's okay though, because some of that is going to get covered over. Do a little bit on the edge and there. Okay, I think I'm going to add a little bit more up here. So I'm going to add one more flower up there. This bit I'm not too concerned with. So we'll do one right there. I'll dump this back in here so that we have some more powder. There we go. Okay, that's going to look beautiful. So before I turn on my heat tool, I'm just going to put all this stuff away so I don't blow powder everywhere. Okay, and then we'll bring in our heat tool and emboss it. Okay, so we'll just have a quick look, make sure all looks like it's been embossed. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Then I'm going to bring back my scrap paper and we're going to use some blending brushes again. This time we're going to use two different colors. So we are going to use Fresh Freesia and Bubble Bath. I'm going to start with the lighter of the two colors and I'm going to just kind of go over different areas and not necessarily just where they're embossed. I want to fill the space with color. Okay, now I'm going to do Fresh Freesia. So this is one of our mini blending brushes, and this is one of our regular blending brushes. It really doesn't matter in this particular situation which size you're using. I just didn't happen to have a larger light pink, so I just used the smaller one. So I am filling in all of the areas that are still left white with the Fresh Freesia. Okay, so now I want to take a tissue and just kind of go over the embossed areas to remove any of that ink that is sitting on top of the embossed bit. So that's going to make the image pop a little bit more because the embossing resists the ink. And then I want to distress this a little bit, so I'm going to take my snips Okay, and then I'm going to splatter. So I am going to use our Stampin' Blend. This is a Pebbled Path Stampin' Blend marker. And just gonna add a little bit of splatter. So before, on the first project, we used the ink pad and our water painter to splatter, and using your Stampin' Blends is another great way to splatter. Now I've got a 1-inch piece of DSP. This is from the Earth and Elegance as well. And I'm just gonna tear the edge. I want lots and lots of texture on this. And then here, I've got a scrap piece of white, and I'm gonna take the greeting that says, "May this year be incredible and filled with possibilities." And I'm gonna use some Pebbled Path ink. And stamp it down, and it's upside down, but that's okay because we're going to punch it out using a circle punch. Let's see here. There we go. We can get it closer to the center doing it this way. All right. Now we've got our card base, which is a piece of thick basic white. And we're gonna take our distressed piece. I'm gonna put it going this way, I think. And I'm gonna take my finger and I wanna add even more texture. So I'm just kind of curling up the edge there. And then we'll add some adhesive. This is going to go in the center of our card base. And then this is going to go across. Excuse me. Just like that. It is going to overhang. It's a little longer than this layer. Okay, and then we want to add some additional texture. So we're going to do a couple things. We're going to use some ribbon. So this is Bubble Bath ribbon, which is the pink that we used. So Stampin' Up! Is so great at coming out with cardstock and inks and embellishments to match their colors. This ribbon is retiring, so it's not carrying over. So I just took about an 1/8 inch length and kind of fold it in half. And then I'm going to take some twine, some white twine, and tie a bow. And I'm going to make the loops pretty large. Okay, and then we're going to use a mini glue dot. And I am just using mini glue dots that were left over from a kit that I was playing with. So that's why they look like this and not on a roll. Okay, so I'm going to tweak this, make sure my ribbon isn't wonky. And then we'll get some dimensionals on the back of this piece. And pop this up on here. And then we'll finish it off with some iridescent pearls. And there we go. There is our second card using the Encircled in Nature bundle. And here is the first one. So two very different looks using the same bundle. So fun. So if you're interested in creating more, if you love this bundle and you want more ideas, head on over to this month's tutorial club where you will find all the details on how you can get that exclusive tutorial. And if you are not yet a subscriber, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any of my future videos. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time.